This video is going to be a film study look at Travis Jones. Been requested by multiple people in the comments section. I'm a day or two late getting this done. To talk about Jones, it's interesting because he's a guy who has 0 sacks and 0 quarterback hits officially, although I did see a big one Sunday night. I don't know about you, and we'll actually start the video off with that huge hit of Josh Allen after Kyle Van Noy gets the strip in the third quarter. He's playing about 42 to 45 snaps a game. I would say, from a technique standpoint, incredibly decisive. For a guy who I think is 6'4", 345, somewhere in that range, instant reactions to blocks. The recognition that him and Matab BK put out there on film, they're essentially immovable at times, and when they are moved, it's only horizontally because it's appropriate to do so, meaning their gap is moved and they're trying to stay in their gap. I'll show you at least 2 examples of what I mean by that here in a moment. His club, it moves people. It dislodges people. It's generally with his right arm. I would presume that he's right-handed. The most violent of his moves, of which there are many, involves him being on the right-hand side of the defense in a shade or a one technique, sometimes a 2-eye, and then clubbing the guard who's trying to step down or block down on him such that he dislodges the guard and ends up in B gap himself, even though he lined up in A gap. He does not have a care at all about your well-being as a blocker. I love the way he plays football. He is a heck of a lot of fun to watch. I see the vision. I think we all do at this point in terms of why he was drafted out of UConn. Against the run, there's a very interesting tendency that I want to just speak on before we get to the film. A lot of his plays that he makes in terms of tackles or tackles for loss at or behind the line of scrimmage, he's slanting in the correct direction of the play. So someone on the field, Roquan Smith, Kyle Van Noy, whoever, is calling something out and getting him slanting in the correct location or in the correct direction to disrupt the run scheme. We'll get the film started with the play that it absolutely should begin with, the Wildcat toss pass that the Bills tried to run. Kyle Van Noy, ridiculous recognition, but it's like he said in the Wired episode that I finally got to watch, they're testing my football intelligence. Like, how obvious do you need to make this to us? Number one, no one lined up at quarterback initially. I mistakenly thought it was Cook who was the guy that got the direct snap. It was Samuel. Number one, they lined up Josh Allen incredibly deep. Number two, the running back motions to that side post-snap, Samuel in this case. But as it relates to Jones, he's hesitating. Before the snap, he got some kind of call from someone to his right. May have been Van Noy, may have been Hamilton. The shot he lays on Josh Allen. I mean, look, that's football. Glad that Josh Allen's okay. I did say in the reaction video it seemed like the type of hit and the type of reaction from Josh Allen that would warrant being checked out. The NFL did not do that on a Sunday night football game between 2 of the marquee quarterbacks in the league, so read into that what you will. Let's get to some run stops and how he plays against a run. He plays across the line of scrimmage, number one. Number two, him and Matab BK exceptional against combo blocks. You'll see many times where they're comboed, and then once the combo moves up, they're able to dislodge the remaining blocker and or get involved with the tackle. This is actually not an example of that. The Ravens are in a really unique alignment. Let's put it that way. It's kind of 2-eye. Travis Jones inside shade of the guard. You've got an open B gap and you've got an open C gap, and then the edge defender in D. So you've got a 2-gap bubble. Never a big fan of that. But he's taking on the left guard initially and then already on a knee. So he's created a hard joint. He's immovable at this point. The left tackle is trying to move up to the second level. Everything is disrupted. Not only is he physically in his gap, but he's also used the left guard to kind of compress the interior gap, basically condense that gap, make it smaller such that there's not as much room for the running back to go through. And oh, by the way, Travis Jones is the guy who makes first contact. I think it's an unbelievable example of his commitment and his tenacity. He looks really motivated. I guess you can't judge effort or motivation, or you're not supposed to be able to judge effort or motivation, but it certainly looks like he's given a high level of effort, a high level of pursuit, and extremely dedicated to his technique. Week 2, I mean, his level of violence is different. I got the chance to watch defensive lineman film today for about an hour and 20 minutes. And it was of the Ravens, generally Travis Jones, Justin Matab BK, but obviously I'm watching as many guys as I can. And then the Lions, Levi Onwuzurike, who I think is a third-year player, maybe fourth-year player that they drafted, had some health problems, playing really well. So I'll have that video out for Lions fans on Friday morning. But this move, this is a 3rd and 16. And so over here to the left-hand side, Matab BK is not rushing. He's holding for a moment such that Van Noy can pick this guard and Matab BK can loop around. Well, Van Noy gets through here so clean, he just goes for the quarterback. It basically leaves Travis Jones one-on-one and, well, one-on-two from a gap standpoint, meaning he's lined up in the A gap, and he actually takes out the guard, ends up in B gap himself. You see so many examples of this club. It's an amazing move. It's incredibly powerful. He catches guys off guard. He dislodges them. Exceptional start to the season, if you ask me. Another example of what I was talking about earlier in the intro, which is he's going to be slanting to the play side, and in fact, Jones and Matab BK are lined up in A gap and B gap in the case of Matab BK, and then they slant to B gap, A gap, opposite of the direction they lined up. Gives the offensive line trouble, and you can see Travis Jones is quick. That first step is quick. I guess people don't talk about defensive tackles having a first step, but particularly when he's slanting. He's quick to be able to move and evade or get out of the way of or get the offensive lineman away from him. So he'll slant and he'll make contact with his hands on the offensive lineman at the same time in some cases. Just basically swim or swat the guy past. Beautiful play. Both of those guys, Matab BK and Jones, involved a tackle for loss. Matab BK is playing a whole lot better than people give him credit for, if you ask me. So it's a run concept. This is a swim move. It's pretty ridiculous. Week 3 on the road against the Cowboys. It's ridiculous because he swims to the outside. And oftentimes, like on the previous play, if you're going to slant or swim or stunt, then your partner, defensive tackle, is also going to stunt or slant into the same gap. So you're all both going in the same direction. It's actually not what happens here. The Ravens are stepping Jones out, and Matab BK is still staying B-gap responsible. So there's some stuff going on in here, gap-wise, that would be interesting if the if the Cowboys were able to block it up, but they can't because Jones just clubs. I think it's the tackle off of him. He's an extremely violent guy up there. Him and Matab BK both, but Jones are kind of more noticeable during the game because of the violence of the swat and the shed and just basically tossing guys off of him. There's an incredible amount of strength that he's got right to left with his right hand. Don't ask me what Owe and the tight end are doing to each other after the play. I'm going to give the all 22 of this one first. Jones is down here. Matab BK to the top side. And the reason is it's a run play still. We're still talking about run plays. He's getting comboed. In fact, they're both getting comboed. So a couple of things to mention. Notice maybe first time through Matab BK. People talk about Matab BK not producing sacks or whatever. Like, there is a line that Matab BK does not get moved backwards on. And you can rely on that as an inside linebacker. There's things that you can do from a decisiveness standpoint, from a fit standpoint, because of the way Matab BK is able to anchor down against these double teams or combos. That's on Matab BK. Second thing here, combo on Jones. Watch what happens as soon as the combo block moves up. So as soon as they release Jones, he absolutely presses the offensive line into the backfield. It ends up being a 3-yard gain for Dowdell. They didn't get anything done in the run game. Why aren't teams running well against us? Well, we've got Matab BK and Jones playing extremely well on the inside. Michael Pierce has historically been a really good run stopper. At this point, I think it's worth discovering or worth talking about. You know, how many reps should Jones get when Pierce is healthy? I would say Jones looks incredibly dominant. I'm not sure that I can say the same thing necessarily about Pierce's film. I did grab about 20 or 22 run plays where Jones is on the field. NFL Pro is ridiculous. You can go grab any play when a player was on the field from a particular game. This is the same play, end zone angle. So you get combo here. Neither one of these guys is moved. And in fact, Jones creates a bubble in the defense by bowing number 70 back, Martin. Getting involved in the tackle, Roquan Smith is there as well. A couple of more run concepts. This one, against the Bills. Ravens are trying to force this to go off tackle. Jones is the backside defensive tackle here in his 2-eye. So he's A-gap responsible. Matab BK in a 3 technique, so he's B-gap responsible. Tavius Robinson lined up head up over the second tight end. So we've got multiple gaps here created by the Bills with this 4-man surface. A, B, and C, then D, then E gap out here. And then you've also got this wide receiver, Hollins, who's inserted. So totally unbalanced side, not an unbalanced offensive line, but in terms of the surface. It's a 4-man surface with a wing who split inside of the 2 tight ends. So the Ravens are going to rip Jones across into the A-gap. Matab BK is going to hold his ground, anchor down. Wiggins fills off tackle. It looks easy. It's not. Not against a 4-man surface with a wing to that side. It looks easy because we get Jones going to the play side. We can do that because Simpson is here, B-gap responsible. Roquan's here, A-gap responsible. Humphrey is here in that C-gap responsible. Wiggins outside. Then you've got the bonus player over to this side, which is Marcus Williams. So as a result of that, I think that's why we're slanting Jones across here, because of all the player numbers the Bills have here, number 1, and number 2, because we've technically rolled the safety up to the backside. We've got a bonus player over there because it's 12 personnel. There's only 1 receiver to the backside. Something I want to talk about for a moment is in terms of run fits. I think I give you the end zone angle of this one. This is how Matab BK has always played these combo blocks where there's some lateral movement by the offensive line. You just do not scoop him. Travis Jones is involved in the play. Brandon Stevens as well. We've got tight end nobody down here. Trips to the field, one of which is a tight end. So the way this works out gap-wise for the Ravens, Stevens is responsible for the gap between the tight end and the left tackle. Number 1. Number 2, they're trying to scoop Matab BK. It doesn't happen. I have film of him from 2021. He just does not get scooped. I mean, maybe 2 or 3 times in that time frame. So because he can't get scooped, the gaps keep moving to the top side of our screen. So Simpson is able to fill front side. And as a result, it leaves that big gap between the left tackle and the tight end who base blocked Robinson. Stevens is gone because he's reading the tight end. Give the end zone angle and let you see it. I know there's multiple things I'm trying to talk about here. Jones makes the play, and I haven't necessarily talked about him a lot here. He also is a guy that when they combo him, doesn't get expanded too much. He also doesn't get dislodged. And when the combo block tries to move up, he can free himself and just toss 64 out of there. But let's get back to Matab BK and Stevens on the backside. When in 2021, when the Ravens were having trouble early in the year against the run game stuff, it was oftentimes the side where Matab BK was moving. So what I mean is Matab BK is going this way because that's where his gap is moving. He doesn't get scooped. A scoop block would be if 73 was able to get to this side of Matab BK and basically cut Matab BK off. Simultaneous to that, 76 would presumably move up here to get Trenton Simpson. When the Ravens had all that trouble stopping the run earlier in 2021, it was because nobody knew where to fit off Matab BK. This has always been the fit off of Matab BK when it's run away from him. You can't scoop him, period. So it gives you as an inside linebacker or the +1 corner to the tight end side an understanding of where your fit's going to be. It makes it very clear. And that's why when Josh Bynes showed up in 2021, when he showed up for the second time, I guess, he made so many tackles against I think it was the Chargers at home in week 6, somewhere around that time, because he was fitting off Matab BK. You knew where the heck the fit was going to be. And so, you know, as it relates to Travis Jones, those guys are both playing incredibly well. Matab BK is generally the 3 technique, and when on run concepts away from him, they can't get him out of this B gap. So we've got a declared A-gap fitter in this particular play, and then a declared C-gap fitter, and that benefits the entirety of the defense. Now, Matab BK doesn't get credit for any of these things I've talked about, but if you ask me, him and Jones are equally playing their roles well, whether depending on 3 technique or 1 technique or shade. All right, moving on to some past stuff. This is the violent club that Travis Jones puts on these guys. I think I'll show one or two iterations of it here early on. It's a hold. Josh Allen's throwing it up for grabs down there to Keon Coleman. Just watch the way that Travis Jones does this. It's all right-handed, low-hanging right hand. Uses it in a clockwise motion. So his hands disappeared from us. It's going to come all the way around here clockwise. And then dislodge that guard. It's incredibly violent. We're also dropping out Matab BK and Kyle Hamilton. So it's a three-man rush. We've won just from Travis Jones with an organic win against the guard who had him outflanked or out-leveraged. It's pretty incredible, if you ask me, what the guy's able to do. That was a 3rd and 7 that forced a 3rd and 17. I think the Bills actually got a field goal there. This is how the Ravens try to use this strength of Travis Jones at times. Matab BK's sack, or what should have been sack, safety against the Cowboys. Notice what Travis Jones is doing. And look, it's a really nice job. It's a really nice job during the play by the center. So Jones is stepping to this side. Watch him get his outside arm on the outside of the center. So basically try to club him, hold him for a little bit, but he can't hold too long as he'll get called for it. I wish he'd held it a little bit longer, because if he holds it a little bit longer and 56 can't get clear, then he can't get clear of that, then he's not going to be able to pick up Van Noy at all. We had run this stunt earlier in that game from the other side of the field, and it worked perfectly. If you recall, Van Noy got his first sack. But so this is an example of Zach Orr and the Ravens defensive staff using one of the individual strengths of their players, in this case, Travis Jones' right-handed club, hump move, if you will, to be able to get defenders away from him and clear an open lane for, in this case, Van Noy to rush through, although it was Matab BK who got the, quote, sack that didn't count. A couple of other quarterback pressures before we get to, I'm not sure, like I said, I thought there was a QB hit in the Raiders game. I didn't find it. I went back and looked today. Certainly is a quarterback hit against Josh Allen. I guess it's a little bit too late. This is him against Creed Humphrey. Walking Humphrey back, clearly got a hold. They're not calling it, even though Humphrey is holding on still as Jones has a clear lane. Normally, I think that's the point in time you get the hold call. Fortunately for us, it didn't matter because we get the interception by Roquan Smith that I believe is pretty much caused by Travis Jones and the pressure he gets right in front of Patrick Mahomes' face against Creed Humphrey. Additional to that, and I'll rewind it back and you can see this in a moment, the impact that Matab BK has on the play, getting his hand in the window that Patrick Mahomes is looking to throw the ball through. We're talking about right here. You'll see Matab BK get his hand up, force Mahomes to hold on to the ball for a moment, and then by that time, Travis Jones, despite the hold, is into Mahomes' grill. I don't know how this is not a QB hit. Again, I thought there was one in the Raiders game, certainly one in the Bills game against Josh Allen. You know, they maybe count them differently than I do. So this is a 3rd and 8. I believe this is the third quarter. Jones is here. We're showing a mug look, and then we're going to drop guys out of there and blitz Humphrey. Great timing on the blitz. Jones in on the quarterback again. Van Noy's. My apologies. This is not the third quarter. This is the second quarter. Van Noy's first sack. Kind of a freebie from a Jones standpoint. Wish he'd been able to convert it and get a sack. He's got 13 tackles this year. I think 9 solos, something like that. Feel free to go back and look at the stats. I didn't see a quarterback hit credited to him so far. I thought there could have been 2 or maybe 3. And, of course, this is the first play of the film study that I showed you. I get it. Nowadays, there's so many people who have been conditioned for penalties to be called anytime a quarterback is touched. To me, there should be more negative reinforcement for quarterbacks who want to get rid of the ball in these adverse situations. So what I mean is, you certainly don't have to take a sack all the time. You want to try to make a play? Cool, try to make a play. Then don't complain when that happens and you could have tucked the ball or you could have given up on the play when really no one was open in the first place. Maybe that's an oversimplification of the issue, but I think that in some cases the game is over-officiated at this point, number one. And then number two, the quarterbacks are too protected. Thankfully, this occurred outside of the pocket, number one. Number two, after the ball had been lateral to him, so the Bills, to some degree, gave up some of the protections for a quarterback, and luckily we didn't get penalized for it, if I understand the rule correctly. I thought it was a brilliant play by Van Noy. And Travis Jones did exactly what a defensive football player is supposed to do. If you get an open window, you crash into it with everything you've got. And in this case, the open window was Josh Allen's face mask, and he ran right through it and deposited him on the ground. That's what you have to do. I think Travis Jones, not only is he playing the game the right way, violent as hell, nasty, and getting to the football. Oh, by the way, I didn't show it. I don't know why. There was a play up to the far side of the field from him, a pass play screen, where he actually makes contact with the receiver on the screen on the far side of the field. I forget what game it was, maybe the Raiders, but I could be wrong. In any case, if you enjoyed the video, please let me know. Multiple people requested it, and so hopefully I hit the right notes and gathered the types of plays that people wanted to see. Let me know if you think I left anything out other than the aforementioned screen where I think Jones was able to get to the ball carrier or the receiver on the far side of the field. To see him making a jump in year 3 is good. It's good news, short term and long term, because we recognize what we've got, and we've at least got another year beyond this one before we have to talk about extending him or whatever. He, of course, wasn't drafted in the first round, so we don't get the 5th-year option. But he's playing at an incredibly high level right now. Fun player to watch. We're going to need him against the Bengals to win at the point of attack in the run game, number one, and number two, to try to collapse the interior pocket, make life really difficult on Joe Burrow. And I think he can do it. He looks like a guy who's going to continue to win a lot of one-on-one matchups on the inside against centers and guards. I appreciate you guys' time, man. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section. If you've ever considered supporting me on my Patreon, it's $5 a month, and it's just a way to positively reinforce my continued content development and trying to push out as much content as possible, which, I try to push the pace and get out as much video, Ravens, Lions, and even Seahawks to the fan bases that enjoy it. Appreciate you guys' time, man. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this film study video, please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.